Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. So it would appear that my recent video I did on Apple's car is already dated. We've just heard that Hyundai and its subsidiary Kia Motors are no longer in talks with Apple about developing an autonomous car together. According to Bloomberg, Apple paused discussions with Hyundai and Kia weeks ago about building an electric vehicle. People familiar with the matter told Bloomberg late last week. Apple has discussed similar plans with other auto manufacturers, the people added, asking not to be identified because the information isn't public. The South Korean car makers also said in regulatory filings Monday they were in discussions with multiple companies about autonomous EVs, but no decision has been made. Shares of Hyundai, which said discussions with partners were in early stages, fell as much as 8.4% in Seoul, while Kia slumped 15.3%. The Bloomberg article goes on to say, talks of Apple ending isn't going to hamper Hyundai's strategy because the automaker already has set up plans on its EV business with the Ioniq brand, said Lee Jae-il, an analyst at Eugene Investment and Securities in Seoul. There's still possibility for Hyundai and Kia to cooperate with other automakers for its EV platform. So Apple are in talks with other auto manufacturers too, but it looks like Apple might not have the leverage they thought. Other automakers want to do their own EVs, and also well aware of the potential market, or are in discussions with other companies who want to work with them. I mean, why didn't Apple just buy Tesla when the stock was under $40 post-split price just recently in 2019? I was holding the stock then. I'd lost a fair amount of money, but always felt there was a cushion, that there was some sort of intrinsic value that a company like Apple would simply buy Tesla out. And worst case scenario, the stock would recover again. In fact, I expected it to be Apple and Google in a bidding war, but nothing happened. We later discovered that Elon even attempted to approach Tim Cook about Apple buying Tesla. Tim Cook wouldn't even take the meeting. On the other hand, Apple could buy Ford for 1 year's earnings, although it's not quite that simple, as Ford's market cap is not the same as their for sale price, and they may not want to sell. And if Apple started buying up the stock, then the price would start to rise. However, Apple wouldn't need to buy the whole company, they would just need controlling interest. And yes, I understand not all shares are equal, and that the Ford family are likely holding A shares, whilst Apple would only be able to purchase B shares, but that's just getting into the weeds a bit. Ford might even be willing to sell off just part of the company and maintain their pickup truck division, as that's the most profitable part of the Ford Motor Company. Then Apple could have the rest of the company, and perhaps they could both share the proprietary electric motor intellectual property. Ford have also invested $500 million into the electric car company Rivian. There are various options of how they could structure a deal. I mean, I say Ford because it's an American brand, but perhaps BMW would be a more apt brand for Apple. And again, the market cap of BMW is about 1 year's earnings for Apple. But what do Apple know about running a car business? And what do they do with all those factories making internal combustion cars? It's not like they can suddenly make them all electric. So I'm not sure an acquisition is the route either. Other auto manufacturers Apple might try could end up in the same situation. They probably just want to make their own EVs. They've possibly done more market research on it than Apple too, as it concerns their core business. And they are aware that it's going to be a huge industry and profitable, and they don't want to have to share a cut with Apple. However, there's also BYD. Now, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway has a large share in both Apple and BYD. Berkshire has a 25% stake in BYD and over 5% of Apple. BYD manufacture batteries and cars in China. So if BYD could provide the skateboard for Apple's electric cars, and then Apple are able to create the body of the car with the expected Apple refinements, then that could be a great partnership. Or perhaps BYD manufactures the entire car. It sounds like Apple do want the manufacturing to take place in the US though, so perhaps they start a new factory there, which would add massively to delays, because I have a feeling an Apple car factory would take considerably longer to construct than a Tesla Gigafactory. However, new technologies might come out like graphene solid-state batteries that are such a game changer it would remove a lot of barriers to entry. But Apple really do need an auto manufacturer to help them. If they were to start themselves, it would simply add years longer onto the already belated launch. If Apple or Tim Cook were able to put their egos aside, they could always approach Tesla. If Apple have a solution to a faster way to transition to sustainable energy, then Elon may be willing to discuss some options. Apple have an enormous amount of capital, but I find this unlikely. Too much cross-cultural corporate politics. For example, who would get to control the in-car app store? But in my opinion, if this was a solution, it would likely be the quickest time we would see an Apple car, and it would probably be the route to create the highest specification Apple car too. But right now, it seems less likely that we may ever see an electric car from Apple. But it's not over yet. There are still a few options on the table. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.